In just their first game of the season, the Wildcats went out there and dominated, and I mean dominated, the number one team in the country.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe. On today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's 78-65 win over the preseason number one team in the country, Purdue Boilermakers. This was a dominant win from start to finish for the Cats on both sides of the ball. Going to be breaking this one down here live. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move, and be moved. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. I want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. If you're watching here live on YouTube, subscribe to the show. I would love to have you. It's going to be a very fun season if this exhibition game is any indication of what is to come. If you're listening on podcast after the live stream, please follow, subscribe wherever you are tuned in. Everyone in the live chat, we will get to you here. Obviously, different questions, different thoughts as we go through here. But just off the top, 78-65 is the final score. Really appreciate, really stunned by just how complete of a performance we saw in this game on both sides of the ball. I really did think that Braden Smith was going to be able to push Kentucky around a little bit more than he did on the offensive end of the floor in terms of stressing what the Wildcats were going to try and do defensively. But the broadcast continued to bring this up time and time again. The length of Kentucky's defense, the height and the strength of this team is very different from what we saw a season ago. Now, they might not be as high octane when it comes to shooting the ball, but we've definitely got some guys on that side of the ball to be excited about. We'll get to that in a little bit. But as far as the defense goes, that's where I want to start with this. Kentucky looks more athletic. They look taller, they look more physical, and they look more engaged on that end of the floor. I am really impressed with what the Cats were able to do, shutting down Braden Smith, who just went 3 of 9 in this game, did not make a 3, 5 assists, 2 turnovers, and remind you guys, this guy averages almost 9 assists per game, and he played 32 minutes. Nick Arvin and Matt Painter, Nick Arvin, host of Locked On Boilermakers, who we talked to earlier this week, and Matt Painter, head coach of Purdue, have kind of said similar things as far as, like, we're not going to play, like, our guys, like, our top guys a ton of minutes. Braden Smith played 32 minutes in this game. Kaufman Wren played 28. I mean, Fletcher Lawyer played 31. So everybody was kind of getting in here for Purdue in terms of their star talent, and they did not perform. Trey Kaufman Wren finished with 19 points, a couple of easy baskets there towards the end, but overall in that first half was really struggling to get his floater going, was missing a lot of bunnies at the rim. Maybe this game goes differently if he has a more efficient night. Much more efficient a season ago was TKR, but not playing well in this one. Kentucky's defense really, I think, causing Purdue to struggle immensely at the rim. Fletcher Lawyer in this game, 3 of 15 shooting, 2 of 8 from beyond the arc. Something that Arvin mentioned is that this team really does struggle shooting from beyond the arc on the road outside of Mackey, and they absolutely did in this one. Just 3 of 17 from deep. Again, their best shooter going just 2 of 8 from beyond the arc, 3 of 15 from the line. This defense really did show up. 12 assists to 7 turnovers, just 12 assists for this Purdue team. I am shocked at what Kentucky was able to do. Purdue shot just 39% from the floor overall. Now, they did shoot 18 of 22 from the charity stripe, but I believe, about half of that came in the second half when things were not necessarily in arm's length at various points for Purdue. This is absolutely stunning what Kentucky was able to bring on defense in this game. And I'm just going to remind everybody in the live chat, for those of you that have continued to whine and complain about the thought that about me saying I thought Kentucky would lose this game, let's remind you of 3 different things here real quick. Number one, if you haven't gone to watch the most recent episode of the show before this one, I would encourage you to do it, because for the first 10 minutes of the show, I explain why winning or losing doesn't matter in this contest. So if you want something to cry about, I would do so while watching that show. Second of all, just a reminder for you guys, Kentucky is down their starting point guard, the lone true guard on this roster, and their best defender against the preseason number one team in the nation. Any person, any logical human being would at the very least say, okay, this shifts things in Purdue's favor. Kentucky might struggle in XYZ areas against the best point guard in the nation and one of the best power forwards and one of the most efficient offenses in the country in their first game together. Shocker, right? That ended up not happening, but still, that's not an unrealistic expectation to have. Third of all, if you want to go look at any other national outlet that thought about this game, let's take KSR, for instance. About half of their crew predicted Purdue to win this game. Brandon Ramsey came out and said, if there was a line on this, it'd probably be 6.5, 7.5 in favor of Purdue. Kentucky's just down players. Reese Potter didn't play in this game. Okay? This is a realistic expectation heading into this contest. And yet, it doesn't matter. So if you want to get up in arms about somebody saying Kentucky's going to lose an exhibition, go cry in the corner, okay? Because nobody cares about whether or not this was... If Kentucky lost this game 78-65, no one would care about the outcome. All we care about is what happened on the floor. Win or loss does not matter. And I talked about this at length at the very end of yesterday's episode. Again, go and watch it, about online sports discourse and the way that we think about how we should interact with each other online. Far too many of you, myself included, are too comfortable saying things that we should not say to each other. And at this point, it's an exhibition game. Just want to get that off my chest real quick, because goodness gracious, some of you really, really got upset at the fact that, hey, Kentucky's down two of their best players against the best team in the country. Maybe they're not going to play as well as we thought. And you know what? They ended up doing it. Great. Let's talk about what actually happened. But as far as everyone out there that wants to say, hey, this was like how could you possibly say Kentucky could lose? I'm sorry. I don't have anything else to say to you other than just get over yourself. It was an exhibition game. Win or loss, it doesn't matter. Now let me tell you when it will matter is when Kentucky plays Louisville in a couple of games. Absolutely, that's going to matter. Win or loss. Absolutely it does. So defensively, let's get back to this real quick. Defensively, Kentucky was absolutely incredible. Lights out. Absolutely lights out in this contest. Offensively, maybe a couple of different things to work on, but again, you were down your offensive engine. How could you expect it to look perfect? You can't. I cannot. The way that this offense was able to operate without their best passer and ball handler was shocking. 17 assists, 9 turnovers. Some of those coming towards the end of the game when, again, this one was kind of out of reach. 6 of those turnovers in the second half. All around incredible performance from this offense. Let's get to more of it here. Let's talk about individual stuff here in the second half. Before we do that, though, tell you guys quickly about our friends over at Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Jasper Johnson popping off in this contest. Going off for 15 points, 6 of 10 from the floor, had that 3 there towards the end of it. He was electric. The kid can absolutely fill it up, moving Kentucky's backcourt forward, despite maybe not having all of the tools available to themselves. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, continuing along here on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in the live chat. If you were watching live, if you were listening in the postcast, I really appreciate it. Biker Believer says, I didn't think we looked good at the blue and white game. This game changed my mind. I thought, and I said this so many different times coming out of that blue and white game, the stats didn't look good. There were moments that didn't look great, but I really was excited about what I saw from this team in terms of depth and in terms of versatility. We saw that on full display tonight with this offense. Absolutely love what I saw from this offense, shooting 49% from the floor, ended up shooting 31% from three, just 9 of 29 from beyond the arc. I think you will probably see Kentucky be a little bit better than that night in and night out. But on this night, obviously not phenomenal shooting. You saw Jasper Johnson, who again I mentioned finished with 15 points, led all Cats in scoring, 6 of 10 from the floor. Otega Oweh, 10 points, 3 boards. You also saw Trent Noah go 2 of 4 from beyond the arc. Cam Williams got a couple of threes down. Aberdeen, who did not shoot well in this game, I really did like the way that he played in terms of pacing and in terms of confidence and just out there playing as one of the more calm guys on the roster, I will say. Actually, real quick, hold on for you guys. Here, Bob, let's just do this for you. Let's just do that for you so you can go cry about it in the void real quick. But yeah, I really like the way that Kentucky played with balance just across the board. Noah 10, Oweh 10, Jasper 15, Diabate 8, Aberdeen 9, Marino 8 points. We'll get to Marino in a second. I want to talk a lot about him because goodness gracious, this kid played way better than I thought that he would. Yeah, this was like on borderline shocking to be this competent and this smooth against the preseason number 1 team in the country. For those of you like Bob who want to sit out here and cry about the fact that we thought this was going to be tough and it ended up still being tough, but ended up being a win, for those of you that think that it's unrealistic to say, hey, Kentucky might struggle. Okay, let's go do that in another corner. But goodness gracious, let's focus now on the fact that Kentucky did play so well on both sides of the ball. And it's really hard not to overreact, I think, to this game and to what Kentucky might be this season. But I'll just go ahead and tell you, again, like I mentioned, Smith playing 32 minutes, TKR playing 28, Purdue trying, clearly, especially in this first half, and Kentucky just sort of took over. And anytime Purdue might have threatened anything, Kentucky just answered. They just answered, whether it was Jasper, whether it was Diabate on the glass, who finished with 9 boards, by the way. This was incredible. I don't know what else to say other than I am just shocked at how well Kentucky played and how balanced they played. Kentucky on the day, let's get to some other stats here, was plus 12 in the rebounding margins, 42 to 30. They had 3 more offensive boards, but 10 more second chance points. What did we say this entire offseason about how Kentucky will create more possessions for themselves by grabbing those second chance opportunities and then capitalizing on them? And if you think about the way that maybe this matchup worked, I think that Purdue is still going to end up being an incredible team this year, but we also have to think about pacing in this one. And this is something that Pope talked about a little bit recently. As far as they want to try and get as many possessions as possible on the offensive end, so they will play fast, but on the defensive side of the ball, they want to slow you down as much as possible. Purdue playing with one of the slowest tempos in the country, already struggling in terms of rim protection, did not see what they wanted to see tonight against the Cats, where the Wildcats just kind of blew through their chest at various points, as Jimmy Dykes noted on the broadcast. Kentucky, when this game was slowed down, was more efficient. When this game was sped up, was more efficient. Purdue could not capitalize, could not run as far as speed and as far as pacing. It's just not their style of play. And so maybe matchup-wise, this was just kind of Kentucky from the jump in terms of having an edge, especially the environment as well. Kentucky's got a lot of speed on this roster that I really, really am excited about. Just a well-balanced effort. I want to talk here about Malachi Marino, who it could end up being special for this team. I am shocked at how well he played in his 22 minutes. Let's wrap this show up. Actually, we'll be on here for a little bit talking to you guys. I'll get to a ton of different comments from you guys later. Actually, that's not true, Wildcat Piper. All KSR did not pick UK. Go look at the writers and go look at their content creators. About half of them, actually might have been more, and picked up Purdue to win. As far as the original crew, yes, they all did pick UK, but half of the actual content creation team ended up not doing so. Anyway, let's get to that here in just a little bit. Before we do it, though, tell you guys about our friends over at DoorDash. The weekend's basically here, guys, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Kentucky, I want to reiterate, it is Jasper Johnson, dropping 15 points against the preseason #1 team in the country. This was a true breakout performance, I think, for the 5-star freshman, and based on what Pope has said all offseason, based on what we know, this kid can fill it up, absolutely. And that was the question, whether or not in this high-pressure environment, immediately out the gate, if he would be able to score as efficiently as he did. And he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week in practice, this wasn't a fluke. This is legit. This is what Jasper is. He's awesome. He is incredible. And just like Jasper delivered for Kentucky, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. You can stack it up all season. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here. It's FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football or basketball or even baseball more exciting when I've got a little something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or you like diving into the stats, FanDuel makes this game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, continuing along here on today's episode of the show, Peanut Butter Posse, longtime listener, says no low, no JQ, Oweh probably 75% and rusty, and this happened. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's what was supposed to be, and it might still be, the best team in the country. And Kentucky beat them by 13. They were up by 17 at one point in the second half. Kentucky just sort of dominated from start to finish on both ends of the floor. The length, the athleticism, the speed, the X's and O's, the Colin Chandler dunk, the Diabate lob at the end, Jasper hitting threes, Trent Noah knocking down some shots, banking one in late. Love how they performed in this game. 78-65 is the final score. Let's see here. Let's get to the chat here. Let's see. Colin Chandler played good on both sides. I liked what I saw from Chandler, and the most surprising thing to me was the assist numbers. 3 assists, just 1 turnover. He had some really nice passes in this one. I thought he looked more under control. 5 boards as well. Obviously, that dunk was the only 2 points that he scored. This is depth. This is what depth looks like. That's your third best point guard on the roster. Aberdeen, by the way, 3 assists to 1 turnover. Both guys looked really good passing the ball. Jasper also had 3 assists to 1 turnover. So combined, the 3 players that could have stepped up in Jalen Lowe's absence, 9 total assists for the Cats. Okay, I want to talk about Marino, and then we will get to what you guys want to say here in the live chat. We'll get to everything real quick. Reese Potter wasn't available, so Garrison had to play a good chunk of minutes alongside Marino. Garrison actually was outplayed in terms of minutes by Marino, 22-18, although Garrison, I thought, played well. He had 7 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, looked good. And then Marino, 8 points, 4 of 5 shooting, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. There were so many different moments in this game where you saw exactly what I was talking about when this kid was picked up and what everybody else was raving about. And I think a lot of you guys were raving about as well. Extremely high floor on both ends. And the rebounding is incredible. The physicality, I think, is already there as a freshman. Saw a really nice post move. I believe he was working on Jacobson, who is 7'4", by the way. And like Luke Newman just mentioned, the only miss he had was a 3, which he's not going to be taking those. What Pope was saying a couple of weeks ago about how Marino, hyper efficient in practice, shooting like 80%. Like, he's not lying. Like, this is legit. Now, is he going to shoot 80% every night whenever he's out there for 20 plus minutes? No. But tonight, man, he did some really impressive cleanup stuff. And then he kind of went to work on his own at various spots. And I was thoroughly impressed with him. Dykes said it on the broadcast. He might end up being Kentucky's starter by the end of the season. And sure, we'll talk about balance and whether or not he should be starting and what, but goodness gracious, he's making the case for it already against an extremely tall, impressive team. By the way, Oscar Clough, who came out of the transfer portal as one of the most efficient players in the country, just 1 point, five rebounds, 2 assists in this game, 1 point in 22 minutes. Kentucky did not let him get involved at all. Jacobson had a couple of dunks there at the end after the game was basically over. Outside of that, he had like 5 points in this game. Really impressive with what Kentucky did in this contest. Again, just so well balanced. Forget the final score. If they had lost this game by 5, if they had lost this game by 8, which is what I think would have been a realistic expectation, again, just based on the context of the situation, some of you don't care about that, and that's okay. That's fine. It's fine. It's an exhibition game. Let's all not care. Let's all not care about what each other think about it. But this was dominance. This was absolutely dominance. Let's see. Wayne Evans says, will JQ be at the 4 or the 5? I think he'll be at the 5. We'll see what Pope wants to do in terms of double big rotations. I don't think he's going to go to that a ton. That would just be my guess. But again, I'm not the coach. I'm not in practice. I don't know. William Velez says, I'm going to call it undefeated season ahead. I mean, Ken Palm thinks that Kentucky's going to go 29-2, basically. So there's that. Andrew Wiggins says, Chandler was awesome defensively. He held Smith in check. And that's what Chandler does, man. This is an uber athletic 6'5" guard. And that's something we were highlighting. You're absolutely right, Andrew, about how, like, last year in crucial spots, Chandler was really, really good as an on-ball and off-ball defender, just sticking with his guy at the hip. Really, really nice. Really, really nice what I saw from him defensively. Let's see. JQ is a 5 in Pope's system. Might be a 4. Yeah, 4 in the pros. That's what they'll probably ask of him. Maybe a 5, but I think he could guard all 5 positions. He could probably guard at the very least 5 through 2. I don't know about 1. We'll have to see, but he's got the length. You were talking about the main crew. Yeah, they did predict Kentucky to win. Cam needs a little bit more work. That's kind of, yeah, you're right. That Bung Holio, that kind of is the that's kind of the info, right? That's been coming out of practice. And as far as, like, you know, his impact in the time that we've seen him, he did knock down a couple of threes in this one, had a couple of boards and assists. I think that he is right now a really solid depth wing piece that can spray it and can be more versatile than maybe he's shown, but I like the position that he's in to succeed as a portion of this team. Let's see. Bubbless on tap, which is an incredible name. I wasn't impressed with Purdue's big men. Real soft, and Smith isn't the best point guard in the country. He's been playing at Purdue to ever. Exhibition ain't an excuse. I think that's the only thing I'll disagree with there is I think that Smith is the best point guard in the country, just in terms of what you want your point guard to do in terms of facilitate, score a little bit, be that primary ball handler with the gravity that he has. I think he is. I just don't think he matched up well against Kentucky in their length. As far as their big men, TKR is legit, but Jacobson, I think, struggled in various points in this game because he's a little lighter at 7'4". Clough was just flat out not good. So yeah, I do agree with that. Biker Believer says, Johnson or Marino could win Freshman of the Year. I'm not going to push back on that. Not going to push back on that right now with the way that Jasper was shooting today. Again, led Kentucky in scoring with 15. Ito says, we don't have better players, we also have better athletes. That's a great point here. It's a really good point. How Kentucky just out-athleted Purdue in various points in this game. Just beating them to the rim, beating them on drives, finishing through contact. Kentucky just looked better as just a more physical, athletic team, which is super refreshing based on after what we saw last year. Really, really awesome stuff. Julio says, Cam SU's upside, just not quite there yet. I'm a fan waiting to see it blossom. I have full faith that it will. I agree. Let's see. Luke Newman says, I like Jelly and Marino on the court. I like them too, man. Yelovich didn't really get the chance to show that outside shooting ability. I think he might have been a little nervous in this one just based on how off his shots were. But 5 boards, 3 points, a couple of assists. Everybody getting involved, distributing the ball on this one in just 20 minutes. Let's see. Neutral Chaos, impressed with the physicality. Zach Taylor makes a really good point. The flow within the team is evident. They didn't panic. At no point Did they panic in this one? They looked collected. Again, without their offensive engine, or without Jalen Lowe, they looked collected. They looked calm. They just sort of had flow state throughout the entirety of it, it felt like. Absolutely. Let's see. We put major BTA, and Louisville's getting BTA from Kansas. Are they really? Okay. I just want to reiterate something that I said. I want to reiterate something that I said on yesterday's show. For all the detractors out there that said, oh, Lance isn't picking Kentucky to win a game. Sorry that I'm a realist. But also, if Kentucky is fully healthy, they'll probably win the game already. But if they're fully healthy, they're going to walk into KFC Yum Center. They're going to whip Louisville. That's what's going to happen. Like, based on this result, that's what's going to happen. Great Kentuckian, longtime listener, says, went to the game, Lance. The freshmen showed and proved that they can handle some of the light when they needed to. And that's something I have on the screen here as like a note. If you're watching on YouTube, the youth in this game. Chandler, as a sophomore, still looks really good. Noah with 10 points, kind of quietly, it feels like. You also have, again, Jasper with 15, Marino with 8. The youth was really impressive in this contest for Kentucky. Absolutely. Let's see. Triple F says, can't wait to see what this team is going to look like all when healthy. Absolutely. Michael Webb says, I just love the Colin Chandler driving punch dunk. It was one of those where I had to stand up out of my seat. I was like, okay, wow. I was thoroughly impressed. Ultra 1994 says, this team, once solidified and comfortable with their game, will have a bigger win gap average than 98. That's my hot take. I love that. I absolutely love it. I will say this. With how balanced they look, without two of their better players, Kentucky looks like they're at the very least going to be a very, very difficult team to beat. They're going to be an extremely hard out because of how versatile they are and how deep they are. One of you in the comments, it was Captain Crash, mentioned Pope emphasized conditioning. He had to have with this squad. Does Louisville have any physicality? I don't think they do. Any update on JQ? Just want to remind everybody I'm not an insider. I will tell you different things about what I hear about John Summerall whenever they come around, because maybe I have a little information there. But as far as being an insider in general, no, I don't have any update on JQ. I don't think anybody does, actually. Last time we heard, he was basically fully healthy, except for maybe a discrepancy in his injured leg. I think that if this was an NCAA tournament game tomorrow, he'd probably go. That's been my opinion this entire time. We'll see what happens there. Let's see. I feel like we have at least 4 dudes who can go get their own basket. That's something else. You're right, Michael. That's something else that the broadcast also mentioned. Jasper can get his own basket. Diabate can get his own basket just barreling through people. I think that Oweh absolutely can. You've got so many different options here. And oh, by the way, Braden Hawthorne is stashed on the bench. He's just casually hanging out there as somebody who in a year is going to be a problem in terms of ball handling and scoring. So man. That's true, Captain Crash. I'm always bragging about that. Team looked great at this stage. Wish would they have gotten Hawthorne in the game? Yeah, that's actually what I was about to say, Carlos. I agree. At some point in this game, in the second half, when you were up by double digits for the majority of the second period, get Hawthorne in there. Let's see what the kid is made of. It's like a baby deer in headlights rolling out there with how lanky and tall he is. Let's put him out there. Let's see if he could score a little bit. Love what this team has in terms of depth. He's just casually sitting on the bench. Insane. Absolutely insane. Diabate is going to give Graham Ike problems in the Zags game. He might. About 15 minutes on Louisville's men's basketball Twitter said the score was Louisville 12-11 with 11:38 of the first half. So unless Kansas went on a huge run, I can't confirm. Okay. True to Kentucky Blue said, boy, you were dead wrong. You said Kentucky wasn't going to stop anything on your podcast. I genuinely thought that they were going to struggle in rim defense in this game. I genuinely did. For 2 reasons. Number 1, JQ wasn't in the game. Number 2, I thought that TKR was going to be hyper efficient in this one. He missed a lot of shots he should have hit. I'll say that. I thought Clough would be more impactful. I thought Jacobson would have been more impactful. Keep that energy. I don't think I will, actually. I think that being able to change your opinion as the season goes on is healthy and a mature thing that an adult can do. But as far as this one, yeah, I was wrong about the rim defense. And I'm very happy that I am. Sorry. Big Ten ball isn't that good. Now, I will agree with you on that. I don't think Big Ten basketball is not that good. Captain Crash says, when Scal Labissiere was on the team, I used to call him Baby Giraffe. We might have him again, maybe a little bit better than Scal. Knock on wood. Let's see. Luke says, I'm in shock with Kansas because Floyd Badingo was the only returning player. I need to go see if they're rolling. Louisville has former pros. I don't think we're... that is a topic that we will talk about another day. I'm not a fan of it. You aren't either. What's new? Not a lot of hot takes here on that. But yeah, that's bad. That is objectively not a good thing. I think we'll talk about that at length in another show. Luke says, my starting five until Lowe and JQ is Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Oweh, Mo Diabate, Yelovich, and Marino. I might keep Noah at the 3. I might go Aberdeen, Oweh, Noah, Diabate, Marino. And I would have Yelovich coming off the bench. Kansas Twitter 2 minutes ago says scores 32-22. Okay. So they scored 22 points. Louisville has. Awesome. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. It just, again, to reiterate some of the negative things that I was talking about earlier in the show with people that want to attack you for your opinions online, I would strongly encourage you, and I'm going to put the clip out tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern, about online discourse and how it relates to sports, how it relates to Kentucky, and how it might relate to you, because I really do think that it is important to highlight how we discuss things with each other and then how that can affect some people mentally, because there was something that happened recently in terms of a passing in the chess community that I think is relevant to kind of what we talk about here, because Kentucky is such a passionate, fired up fan base. I think it's really important to kind of think about the way that we engage with each other, and it doesn't have to be lovey-dovey all the time. You are free to criticize people when they are wrong. You are free to criticize me when I'm wrong. I will admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong about the game. I was wrong about the 2-point defense. I was wrong about how Kentucky was going to handle their bigs, and I'm happy to be wrong. Not everybody's going to bat 1,000, okay? That's part of it. That's part of life. But the way that we have conversations about it, I think might need to change just a little bit. That was on yesterday's show. You can go find it at the final segment of yesterday's show, and then again, the clip will be out. Will be out again. Just the sole clip of me discussing that. So I encourage you to go look at it. Think about it, and I will try and be as transparent and honest whenever, hey, I'm wrong, and we can acknowledge it. And we can acknowledge whenever people online are wrong, and we can be okay with it, and we can move on. So, appreciate you guys tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you're watching in the live chat, which there was like over 400 of you at one point, which thank you so much for watching. Love all of you guys. Subscribe. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you have not liked the video already, would love it if you did so. If you're listening on podcast, like and leave a review. I always want to see what you guys are leaving in terms of reviews on Spotify. See if we can get that star time up, that star rating up. We'll see. But again, that's going to do it for today's episode. You can follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnUK. You can follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_, and you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless. Bye.